Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit Jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Magic, the podcast where we talk about technology, artificial intelligence, innovation, gaming, and everything in between. I am your host, Cathy Hackl, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Lee Kebler. Lee, how's it going?
Great. We have, this is a big deal in Portland, but we actually got to the other side of daylight saving time. So I don't think people will understand how dark it gets during the winter here. So that's been nice.
I know, right? It's nice. I mean, I'm in DC, so it doesn't get that dark. It does get dark, but probably not like Portland.
Yeah, our winters get pretty short. Our summers are amazing.
Yeah.
Winters get like dark pretty fast. So
yeah,
we're all kind of weirdly excited about yesterday.
The nice weather. I'm loving it also because we're getting nice weather finally in DC. So it's it is a welcome
nice change. It's a bit of a thaw from a weird winter indeed.
Well, before I tell folks about the events I've been going to here in the DC area, I need to give you major props. I think you're like one of the coolest podcast hosts anyone could have.
Why are you saying, what are you going to ask me? You're fishing for some.
This is truly a compliment. I'm not intending to get anything from you here. What I was going to say is like you posted a video of you on Instagram and your friends performing live a song that you've been working on and producing and working on. And you are like playing the harmonica like it's nobody's business. Like I had no idea. I mean, I knew you were musically talented. I just didn't know you were that musically talented when it came to the harmonica. So you are the...
Yeah, no one does. That was something I did like in high school, and I played it in like my high school jazz band. And honestly, it's one of those instruments that like once you do figure out how to play it, you don't really forget how to play it. It's not particularly hard once you understand what you're doing. So it is kind of like a riding a bicycle scenario.
Do you have your harmonica there?
No, it's downstairs.
Oh, you could have like delighted us with a couple of seconds of harmonica playing.
No, but if you go to my Instagram, you will find it. No one knew I was going to do that. So to give it a background, I'm playing with a new band here in Portland, and we had a show at a venue. And it is a huge band. It's like 8 people. It's not a small group. It's like an 8-person jazz, pop, funk band. And they wanted me to do that. And nobody who knows me knows that I did that. Even Cassie, she had no idea. Like nobody knew that I played the harmonica. It was just something I never thought about. And they were, during a rehearsal one day, it came up in conversations like, actually, I think I have a harmonica in this key. I could try that. And we tried it and it worked so well. They're just like, okay, we're not telling anyone we're doing this. You're just going to do it during this part of the set. So broke it out and it was definitely entertaining.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I'm like showing it to my kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's like the coolest. So anyway, I had no idea harmonica would be that cool, but you brought the coolness to it. And then the song was amazing. You had shared.
Yeah, the band. The band's called Cool Era, Cooera. The Cool Era, and people know this if they listen to the podcast. At the end, I'm normally talking about like records that I suggest or whatever, but the Cool Era was actually an era of jazz music. So this band kind of looks back at the cool era of jazz and reimagines a lot of those standards into new music with lyrics, and we have like great MCs and singers and things like that. And it's a huge band that we play together. So that's kind of where the name comes from. Cool Era, COO space ERE.
Wow.
ERA. Yeah, you can find us on Instagram.
It was amazing.
And we're actually playing at Treefort at the end of this month. We're on like one of the bigger stages. We got really excited about that. Very lucky because Treefort had reached out to me. For those who don't know, it's kind of like a South by Southwest, which is currently happening.
Yeah.
But they're more of like a North by Northwest. I don't know. They're more indie focused, but they have a lot of technology there.
Wow.
So they reached out to me and asked if I would keynote. It's in Boise, Idaho. So it's a pretty short trip. It's a big show. It's a big event. And so I'm keynoting their Hackford event to talk about how we design with immersive technology in a way that not only makes sense, but also ignores the hype cycle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You and I, we've been doing this long enough to where I think we're almost too good at recognizing hype cycle patterns. And I can smell that hype cycle from like a mile away. And we've been talking a lot on this podcast where I've been forming these ideas of like, why does the hype cycle happen?
Yeah.
Where is it currently happening with AI? Because there is a level of hype cycle happening with AI. But, and as you know, I was not very excited about like the NFT era, right? I felt that was very hype cycle driven. A lot of that was driven just because people were locked indoors and didn't know what to do during COVID. But I don't think AI is a hype cycle driven technology, but it does have its own hype cycle. So a big part of that talk is happening there. And while we were setting that up, they kind of found out about the band and they're like, oh, this actually really fits what we're doing. So the whole band's going. We're going to play on Saturday of the Treefort Music Festival, and it's going to be fun.
Well, the question is, are you going to perform? Are you going to like harmonica, do the whole thing? Oh my gosh, I wish I was there.
Yeah. Definitely. It's kind of a strange thing because I do mostly like DJing for the band. Like I'm the DJ. And then so to have the DJ come out and play the harmonica was kind of like
that's how I know you. I know you as like DJ Keeves and like music producer and stuff like that. Not harmonica, virtuoso harmonica.
You got to keep them guessing.
Can I keep them guessing? I like it.
Yes.
Well,
ogres have layers.
I can't play the harmonica, but I play the kazoo because anyone can play the kazoo.
You play the kazoo.
No, I don't. My daughter has a kazoo from like a Christmas show that she did, and all the kids can play the kazoo, right? Because it's made for anyone to be able to play it. But anyway, lots of stuff happening here in DC. Last week, I was at the SCSP AI plus Compute and Connectivity Summit. So it was very much focused on government, but also like chip diplomacy and data centers and lots of really interesting conversations. It was interesting to tap into a conversation of the AI moment, but more around diplomacy around chips. We can definitely talk about
what is the like from a DC standpoint, because like one of the things I did want to talk about today was the Trump administration during the president's joint session with Congress. It was actually the first as he's returned from president, actually came out kind of attacking the CHIPS Act.
Yeah.
Now, that surprised me. It is one of the few acts that we've seen in recent years that has been a direct investment into bringing manufacturing of some sort into the United States while bringing in talent to recreate a very necessary United States dominance in the chip market, which has slipped. And this is coming from someone who spent years at Intel. It was also investing in areas that were not just like West Coast tech. It was in Ohio. Like that was a big push,
a lot of
was chip manufacturing in Ohio. So to see the president come out, whose entire status has been bringing that type of work back into the United States, I'm left very confused. And you're closer to the epicenter where things are moving 1,000,000 miles a minute and no one can keep up. Was any of that in that discussion?
It was interesting. So it was very bipartisan in the sense that they had both Democrats and Republicans on stage doing different talks. Like they had one of the former chiefs of technology for the Biden administration talking about the work he did in the CHIPS Act and why it mattered. They also had, for example, Ted Cruz on stage talking about, he didn't really talk negatively about the CHIPS Act. He maybe did a little bit, but he talked more about the executive order when it came to AI, the original executive order that Biden had put in place, and Trump kind of changed it. So there's just a lot of confusion, I think. There's a lot of back and forth. I can't tell you. I can't make sense of it. For me, the CHIPS Act, regardless, is a positive thing for technology, for manufacturing in the US, for chip. There was a lot of conversation around chip diplomacy, though, talking about maybe not focus on the CHIPS Act, but focusing on what does the US need to do to remain competitive, not only when it comes to AI from the software side of OpenAI versus DeepSeek. That was a big conversation, but there was a lot of conversation on chips and data centers and a lot of these things, right? Because one of the people was talking about it's not that hard to create these models. It's hard to deploy them. Deploying them is what is truly the harder part.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of conversation there. I can't make sense of why the CHIP Act is, why it would be a negative thing. Like, I think that maybe they just want to kind of spin it and give it their own version. I don't know.
If it's just a rubber stamp to put someone else's name on it, like, go ahead. But it is very confusing as to why the concept would be considered bad. And there's very little to explain to it. But there's also a lot of questions of what's going on with Taiwanese chip manufacturing in a global economic market. And if there's something happening there, I just don't get it.
No one knows. Like, unless you're like, I don't even know.
I don't like getting on this microphone saying I don't get it, but because like that's what we're here
That's
for.
what we're here for, people. But
I really don't
keep up. Like, it's the rate of change here and the changes. I mean, to me, it's interesting to watch kind of like things fluctuate, to go back and forth, and it's whiplash, even when it comes to the technology news, I will say. But we'll have to see. There was a really interesting question that was asked on stage about if US and China are the number 1 and 2 players, depending on where they stand when it comes to AI, who is the number 3? And it was really interesting discussions. There was someone on stage that said they don't think that they couldn't see a number 3. Other people talking about the Saudis being number 3 or the Emiratis being number 3. Like, it was a really interesting kind of conversation from a geopolitical perspective. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've never had that thought even cross my mind.
Someone mentioned India, for example. Someone mentioned India potentially as a third player in the AI race. I don't know. It was an interesting question that was brought up during the event that, like you, I hadn't really thought about it much. I mean, maybe I thought a little bit about the investments that are being made by like the Emiratis and the Saudis when it comes to AI.
But those investments are still just like financial investments because of the amount of processing power that's required, right? You're talking about an immense amount of land that needs to have server farms and everything else in between. And that is kind of what a big chunk of what the US offers, right? We have that capability. Maybe if I had to like read into the future, I wouldn't count Japan out.
Okay.
Japan does have their own infrastructure for this type of thing. And really any country that relies on Alibaba for their web services should also be considered because it leaves a wide open game. Now, does that mean it doesn't move it over into the China market? It does. But where it actually is coming out of what's actually getting the credit is wide open. But I wouldn't count Japan out. They could come back with something. They've done it in the past. And they have very interesting data guidance laws that would allow them to have some pretty strict control over their data in their own country.
Do they have enough data? That's the thing. Do they have enough data? Like, that's where someone like, I understand, for example, India would not be necessarily someone you would normally think of, but from a population standpoint, from maybe not from a connectivity standpoint, but from a population standpoint, data, space to create data centers, maybe? Like, I don't know. It was an interesting conversation at the event that I hadn't really like given much thought to.
Yeah, my immediate reaction, it would lead to Japan or even South Korea. And right, the population itself internally is not that strong, but they've got large enough companies that would demand use case from outside of their country that could easily put them towards the top. I could see myself utilizing a Samsung version of AI or, something coming out of Sony in Japan, There are still large tech companies out of those areas that I would hope would be in third.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Then over here in DC, Satellite DC, it's a big space-related event. It's going on. Started today, Monday. We're recording Monday. This episode drops on Wednesday. I'm going to be stopping by the expo on Wednesday, so I can report back in their next episode. But most of the people related to space are in DC right now for Satellite, which is a big event. And then tonight, I'm heading over to the Ritz-Carlton for the National Media Office of the United Emirates. Emirates is launching a media platform of sorts. So I don't have much details on it. I'm invited, and there's Richard Atias, who is the person I interviewed from FII, is actually speaking there, and several people are speaking there. So I can report back because I'm not sure.
That's for next week.
I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, if you read anything in the news, lots happening for sure.
It's really funny. I will say in the satellite space, especially with the political side of what's been happening with Elon Musk and with Starlink and that being in the news almost every day. One of the maybe positive aspects of everything that's kind of been going on right now is there are competitors that are starting to creep out. And when people look for alternatives do fill the gaps. I'm actually really excited to kind of see a little bit of this like satellite space race for smaller satellite companies that maybe we didn't know. Maybe they were still in like startup mode or stealth mode, starting to come up in the next couple of years. Because I do see that type of global gridding as a necessity for satellite-based internet connection in the foreseeable future. And hey, the more the merrier. So I'm a person who likes alternatives and choice. So this has kind of been an interesting view into, well, okay, there was one company and now I'm seeing 3, maybe 4, and it's just starting. So we'll know more in the future, but it is kind of exciting to see that.
Yeah, it is kind of exciting for sure. I mean, the more competitors we can have, the better, right?
Right.
So I think that's a positive. That being said, I do want to mention something since we're talking about space, because International Women's Day was a few days ago. And I absolutely love the fact that Blue Origin is sending an all-women crew up into space. Lauren Sanchez, Gail King, a whole bunch of other folks are going up there. So yeah, I'm just thrilled with it because it's an all-women crew and, you know.
Would you go if they asked?
Absolutely. I won't go to Mars, but I will go to space and the moon. That's for sure. Mars is way too much for me. But absolutely, Lauren Sanchez, call me. I will go. For sure. I would definitely go.
I don't know if I would do it.
Really? Why not?
I don't know. I'm a very grounded person.
I'm always flying somewhere, so might as well go to space.
That's true. You do spend more time in the air than probably anybody else I know. So I guess it's just a different direction.
I've been on an airplane since I was 9 days old. That was my first flight, 9 days old. So that to me, like, I'm like, let's go. Let's get in a vehicle and go up in space, air, wherever. So
wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So kudos to Blue Origin and Lauren Sanchez for the all-woman crew going up to space. So I'm excited about that. That being said, another event that's happening right now as we record and will still be going on when this episode drops is the famous yearly South by Southwest, which takes over Austin. And like half of the people you and I know are there right now.
Yeah. And normally one of us, if not both of us, have been in the past. This year, I had to make a decision of where I was going to go. So I'm obviously doing Treefort since there was a keynote there. But I am keeping a very close eye on it. I've got a lot of friends who are there. The music side just seems to be dominating the tech side from everyone that I've talked to.
Really? Tell me more. Because I mean, I'm not really paying attention to the music side. I'm paying attention to the tech side.
Yeah. I mean, the tech side's been interesting. And one of the things that I find a little strange about South by Southwest as an event, and this isn't a dig at them, I just don't know if this is how I would do it, is they kind of separate the two, right? The first half is technology and it bleeds into music. And then the second half is very like music focused, which I guess is a necessity of making sure that there's enough real estate for a lot of things that are there. But whenever I've gone, I've always kind of wanted the two to mix because I do both.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it's just like way too long of an event for me to just be there for like a week.
I don't think I could handle a week and a half of South by Southwest or 2 weeks. Like, no. I can handle like 4 or 5 days and I'm done.
But the people who are there for like the music stuff have been really excited about some of the networking. They've seen some music tech. I'll have more of that in the next upcoming week. And the music event stuff seems to be garnering larger audiences. And I've not heard a lot from the tech side of it, which is kind of surprising in a way. Not that there's nothing happening. It just feels like very similar to the last couple of years and kind of the same players with the same conversations. Not that they shouldn't be had. But yeah, the music side of it seems to be dominating. And they always do like the film and creative visual arts side, which happens somewhere during the middle. I've got a couple of friends there who hopefully will win some awards and we can talk about them next week. We'll see.
Amazing. And the XR track, though, the XR track is strong again this year.
Yeah, it always has. Yeah, for the past couple of years.
It always has been very strong. It's very strong again this year. So I'm really excited. I've seen lots of our friends over there. I would say, I guess if we're going to kind of like talk a little bit about it as a recap of some of the things coming out of South by, definitely one of my favorite parts of any South by Southwest is Amy Webb's Emerging Tech Report. She launches the report and the Tech Trends Report, really. Every year, I've been in the report before. I've helped in some of the reports in the past. And yeah, like I love when she does this every year. It's one of the most attended sessions. So yeah, this year was interesting. She did talk about, she didn't call them large vision models or large action models. She called them vision action models. And then robust human motion reconstruction, vision action language models, multimodal large language models, and something called the Model Context Protocol, which I think we're all going to start to hear more about when she was talking about the move towards physical AI. That's the way I describe it, right? She used different language. But yeah, basically allowing the robots to kind of have access to the world and understand using data from the world. So she had some really interesting perspectives. She ended her whole talk talking about living intelligence. So the convergence of both compute, but also human elements and a lot of stuff that's happening in the bio space. It was pretty interesting. She talked about the first brain computer being launched. So yeah.
That was news to me.
Yeah, I know. I think it was news to a lot of people. So, I mean, it's always one of those that I recommend that anyone watch because she's one of those thinkers that I just appreciate and I really look towards.
Well, and speaking of that technology, Google kind of came out of nowhere. People haven't talked much about Google's Gemini. It was kind of on the forefront of the ChatGPT thing, and it got rolled into their Pixel phones, which I have one. So I actually use Gemini inadvertently because it runs in the background of the operating system, kind of like a feature and not its own little product, which I'm a big fan of. But at Mobile World Congress, this was in Barcelona, they actually announced a video mode for Gemini Live. This is kind of like ChatGPT's voice mode, but with video, and be able to have live video screen sharing capabilities. You can go real time in your chat. You can talk with Gemini. I use that a lot when on walks and going through ideas that I'm either writing for articles or for books. So not having to simply do that only in ChatGPT and maybe get like different responses from a different AI is super exciting. But I think it did fall under the radar because Google, for everything that I've ever been upset with them about, because they create things and then they'll like abandon really good projects. One of the things that they didn't abandon, but I don't think it's enough attention, is Google Lens. Google Lens is genuinely an amazing.
I love Google Lens. Like I have used Google Lens for years.
And Google Lens is basically the granddaddy predecessor of what true spatial computing is. The ability for the computer to see things around it.
One of the best uses of spatial computing and computer vision I've ever seen. The beginning.
It's amazing. So I think that there's really something there when you start taking Gemini and integrating a Google Lens type technology that has really good foundation. Right? Just great foundation. And this is going to lead me to another article here because Google nailed voice recognition when the Android phone really hit the market to compete with the iPhone. This is years and years and years ago. Siri launched and the Hey Google system launched. And I'm sure I just like accidentally triggered a bunch of people's phones as they're listening to the podcast in their car. Sorry, it happens. But Google easily out the gate dominated Siri on this. And this comes on the heels, this article of Gemini Live with having some spatial computing power now, comes on the heels of Apple coming out and basically saying we're not ready to launch Apple Intelligence under Siri. There's speculation they're going to scrap the entire thing and have to start over. So Apple 9 to 5 article came out a couple of days ago. I shared it with you. They did announce we are postponing the launch. That's a pretty bad and significant sign because the Apple 16 iPhone came out. That was supposed to launch with Apple Intelligence. It took a very long time for those phones to finally get the feature that they suggested. We were all under the impression, because it was blatantly said in one of their keynotes, that Apple Intelligence included Apple Intelligence integrating with Siri. But now that timeline's gone. We don't know. It will eventually have to happen. But for Apple to say, yeah, we have to postpone this indefinitely, we'll let you know. I'm going to go back to our New Year's episode.
Oh, no. Okay. What are we going to... Okay.
Where we made predictions.
Okay.
And I said...
What did you say, Kebler? What did you say?
I said they'll get through it, but this is going to be an incredibly difficult year for Apple. And I think I'm right.
Maybe. Let's talk about Vision OS, though. How about...
Okay. We can move to Vision OS. Go ahead.
That Vision OS for you.
Yes.
I was such an Apple fangirl here.
I do like Apple. My computer at home, I am the most hardware, software agnostic person on the planet. I have an Android Pixel. I've got a Mac Mini desktop. Like, I bounce in between. The camera I'm using right now is an iPhone.
Why? You have a Google Pixel. Don't you have a better camera in the Pixel?
I do, but because Apple does do this really great integration system, my iPhone can wirelessly tether. It stays up, and the camera looks like just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But my camera stays wirelessly tethered to my desktop. So when we do these podcasts, it's just there. I don't have to try and force it to do. I could not do this with my Android because, well, Apple does lock everything pretty well down. But it is such a seamless integration. And I had an iPhone prior to my Pixel that it stuck around. It is a very useful tool.
So hold up. Am I seeing you right now in video and that's an iPhone camera?
Yeah.
That's really good, I have to say. Nice.
Yes. And it is such a clever integration that most people don't know their iPhones and their computers do. But there is a wireless ability. You can change your camera source. If your phone and your computer are on the same Wi-Fi, you can change your camera source to your iPhone and it wirelessly does it. And it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And those are the little things that Apple does that I really root for them for. Again, I'm very agnostic when it comes to technology. So yes, the Vision OS 3, I'm excited to see what it is. They're saying there's a big significant update coming. We've all been kind of scratching our heads as to what's Apple's vision for the Vision. And it looks like it's right around the corner. There's been no details given. So we don't have anything more than Vision OS 3 is coming, and it should be very significant. So here's hoping.
Here's hoping. I love it. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with that. So I do want to go on break. When we get back from the break, we are going to have an interview with Melissa Medina, the CEO of Emerge Americas, which is an amazing event in South Florida. And then you and I are going to talk gaming. We're going to talk about gaming, GDC. We're going to talk about the Ad Council. We're going to talk about AI agents, Meta getting into more fashion partnerships, and a lot more stuff. So let's go on break.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search Xero for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello, everyone. And today on the pod, we've got Melissa Medina, who is the co-founder, CEO, and president of Emerge Americas. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, Cathy. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So tell folks a little bit about who you are, what you do. You're kind of like a really well-known businesswoman in South Florida, but tell folks who might not be familiar to who you are a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Cathy. Yes, my name is Melissa Medina, and I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. I've also been in the tech and entrepreneurial innovative ecosystem here for, crazy to say, over 20 years now. I started my career in a family business called Terramark Worldwide. It's an IT infrastructure cloud computing company. Worked there with my father for several years before the company sold to Verizon in 2011. And that's where my journey with Emerge Americas began. And the idea really was we wanted to change the narrative of what people thought of South Florida in terms of tech, entrepreneurship, innovation, talent, et cetera, because we knew working in a large technology company headquartered in South Florida that it was very difficult to evangelize South Florida as this thriving tech ecosystem, because truthfully, it wasn't. So we wanted to do something to change that. And the first idea was to create a convening. There was none at the time anywhere near Miami where we would bring together all the tech ecosystem stakeholders under one roof, in this case, the Miami Beach Convention Center. And the idea took us over 2 years to build, launched in 2014. And now 11 years later, that conference is a global platform. And we are also a year-round organization, a full team. We have an accelerator program. I mean, we are working this mission throughout the entire year. It's really fun.
That's amazing. So it's been 11 years already. How have you seen it grow in the last 11 years from being kind of a, let's say, an event to promote South Florida now to being like an international event? I mean, people from all over the Americas are coming for this event.
Yeah, right now, last year we had over 60 countries represented at Emerge. It's really exciting to see, to your point, how it's expanded globally, how it's changed, I mean, Cathy, dramatically, to be honest. We had in 2014, we had a little less, I think, than 5,000 people attend our event, which, to be honest, exceeded our expectations. We were hoping to get around 2,000 people. It was the sort of, call it the beta phase of Emerge. We didn't know if we were going to do it again. We were testing it out. And it's been really incredible to see not only, of course, how much Emerge has grown over the last decade, but truthfully, South Florida and really the state in general. Now there's a global lens across our state. It's not why Miami, why Florida, why South Florida. It's how can I get involved? And I think that's the biggest difference, where in the beginning, the first few years, to be honest, it was very difficult to evangelize South Florida to investors. Investors, you're going to bring us these amazing entrepreneurs. Yes, we're bringing incredible entrepreneurs to you. But they were like in Miami, kind of really questioning that. And that whole narrative has changed dramatically. And the last thing I'll say is, I mean, there's no question that COVID played a major role in sort of like lifting up the hood or opening the window into what we believed for so long and into what we had been evangelizing for a long time, us and of course other organizations across the state. But there's no question that the global pandemic, which I will say, of course, nobody wants to go through that again. There's no question. But there was a silver lining, I think, for the state of Florida, for South Florida in particular, where it just brought a ton of tech talent, tech capital, major migration into our state. And all of that sort of really kind of impulsed not only Emerge, but our ecosystem as a whole.
And I've definitely seen it firsthand, Melissa, what you're talking about, because I mean, I got my double master's at Florida International. I still do a lot of things with Florida International, including a scholarship I have with them. I'm doing a lot of things with the Green School. And then I actually used to work at Magic Leap, which was at one point kind of like one of those really amazing startups that everyone was looking at. And I remember people used to tell me, but why are they in South Florida? I'm like, why not? Like, right? I was
exactly. That was always, why not?
Why not? Like, why not? Right? And now I feel
pressure this year.
Now I feel like there's this vibrancy. I mean, for the last couple of years, like Miami has become a financial center, a technology center, an innovation center. How have you personally lived this through being there and being such a proponent of the ecosystem?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I've lived the roller coaster ride over the last 11 years. And I say that with love, to be honest, because this has really been a labor of passion, love, and really belief from the beginning that we have all the elements to be this incredibly thriving ecosystem. And it's amazing to see sort of all the pieces of the puzzle coming together, and so many other people and organizations outside of our ecosystem feel the same way now. So it's really been an incredible journey. And to be honest with you, I feel we've just scratched the surface. I feel that we were light years ahead of where we were 5 years ago, but the next 5 to 10 years actually get me super excited as well. And as someone born and raised here, I think kind of living through the most exciting time ever in terms of tech innovation entrepreneurship.
100%. And for anyone listening to the podcast and is interested in going to the event, learning who are the speakers. This year, you always have amazing speakers, but I feel like every year it just keeps getting better. Tell folks a little bit about what they can expect this year.
I'm so excited for this year. The dates of the event are March 27th and 28th at the Miami Beach Convention Center. You can find all this information on our website, emergeamericas.com. We're concentrating on several core themes this year, emerging technologies. And in this case, it's health tech, fintech. We're concentrating a lot this year on dual use and defense tech. You're going to see some incredibly amazing industry thought leaders. And then kind of cutting across all industries, we're focusing a lot on AI and quantum as well. And of course, AI has been around a long time, but it hasn't been available to the masses, right? Or democratized until only a few years ago. And now quantum is becoming very much a part of daily conversations as well. And we want to be sort of at the forefront of showcasing how these technologies are going to transform our lives. In terms of speakers, it's hard to even choose. I'm so excited, but we have Damon John, the People's Shark, kicking off Emerge on March 27. He's also living in South Florida and has just been an incredible leader, investor, obviously entrepreneur, amazing journey. We have Dr. Martine Rothblatt, who was the co-founder of Sirius Satellite Radio, and now she also is the founder of United Therapeutics. Incredible innovations in the healthcare space. We have Palmer Luckey, who was the founder of Oculus and now the founder of a company called Anduril Industries. Sure, you've probably been reading all about him and his incredible organization across the news. And we have Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide himself.
You're going to have him, right? It's a Miami event.
It isn't an Emerge without him, to be honest. And I say that from the heart. He's been an incredible ambassador, of course, to all of Miami. He bleeds the 305, Miami-Dade County. But for us at Emerge, he's been there since it was a concept, has really helped us, is an investor, and just been an incredible ambassador to Emerge as well. But yeah, we have thought leaders in the financial space, in the technology space, leaders from IBM, just really, really great content. I hope you all come check it out. Multiple stages, interactive experiences. And the one thing that I love the most about Emerge is that the heart and soul, sort of the essence, is really around these incredible entrepreneurs that have been through an accelerator program, that have been through an application process, and they're there to pitch their amazing ideas and connect with investors and corporate partners. And it is very fun as well. We don't shy away from the fact that we're in South Florida. It's high energy, music, fun. We want people to have a good time while doing business, of course.
Amazing. And you definitely feel that vibe every time I'm going down to Miami for business. It is a thriving financial capital, a thriving technology capital. Apple has offices now there and everything.
Down the street, not far from here.
Yeah. So I find it really interesting. So for anyone wanting to attend, what is the website again so they can have that?
emergeamericas.com.
Okay, we'll include it in the show notes. Anything you want to let people know about why they should come to the event? You've already kind of said it all, but anything else, or where you're going to take this in the future?
Yeah. For why to attend the event, I really believe it's a one-of-a-kind experience. If you are in technology or a tech enthusiast, or you just want to go be inspired by these incredible thought leaders and stories and their journeys, no matter what stage in life you are, I think you will find it very much worth your while. And I say that knowing that time is everyone's most precious resource. And I wouldn't want anyone to use their time unwisely, but I really believe it's worth your time to check it out. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how much you take away from the experience. And at least that's what we're told. And that's why we keep doing what we're doing. In the next 5 to 10 years, Cathy, I hope to continue to just do a lot more of what we're doing, continue to grow our platform, continue to share these incredible stories of transformation that are happening in our region, continue to do more of our accelerator programs. And kind of going back to what I said before, if these entrepreneurs are able to connect with investors, connect with corporate partners, connect with talent, grow their teams, have an incredible experience, whether through our accelerator or at Emerge, the conference, it helps create this positive snowball effect for our ecosystem as a whole. So just doing a lot more of what we're doing. We're not slowing down anytime soon, that's for sure.
Amazing. Well, Melissa, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Cathy. So much fun.
All right. So that was an interview with Melissa Medina. And like she mentioned during the interview, Palmer Luckey is going to be one of the keynotes at Emerge Americas, Damon John as well. It's actually a really, really great event that's just become much more important every year in South Florida. And I think you're going to start to hear more about what they're doing and their plans for the future. So yeah, really excited. And I'm working to try to get an interview with Palmer as well.
Yeah, you and I are going to AWE. That's coming up in June. It's coming up fast.
June, that's in June. It feels like around the corner, but no.
It's right around the corner, June 10th, I think, in Long Beach. So super excited to go there. We'll have the podcast from there. I think that's going to be very enlightening. I'm excited just to be in Long Beach in June. That'll be fun.
I know. That'll be really exciting. I do want to now talk a little bit about gaming news. So we've got GDC, the Game Developers Conference, happening next week in San Francisco at the same time as GTC, which is NVIDIA's Developers Conference. They happen in parallel. So we'll talk about GTC, but let's start with GDC, the gaming side. I think there's going to be lots of really amazing gaming news coming from there. I do want to give a shout out to our friends at the Ad Council who had just unveiled their it's a game for mental health. It is called Love Your Mind. It's a mental health campaign on the platform. They're working with some amazing partners. I was one of the people that initially advised the Ad Council when I was part of their board on Roblox. I might have introduced them. I'm not sure if I did or not. I introduced Roblox to like Walmart, for example, to our friend Justin there. Right. I made the first call there, the first introduction call there. But yeah, congratulations to the Ad Council. I'm glad they're using gaming for mental health in teenagers. I think that is a great use of the platform. So kudos to them and kudos to everyone that has been involved in that project because it's done for good. The Ad Council works on creating things with different campaigns, usually aligned to some element of doing something for good. So GDC, what do you think? What are you thinking we might get? Any new Switch stuff or any new Nintendo stuff?
Oh, we're going to know a little bit. I mean, the Switch conversation's not really going to drop until April because Nintendo is going to do their own keynote for it, and that is scheduled for April. So we know that we're not going to get any like real details about the Switch 2. However, what I do think we're going to see a lot of, at least I'm hopeful, is cross-platform games. So I'm seeing Microsoft get a lot friendlier, not as locked down to the Xbox. I think we're going to start seeing more Xbox titles making their way onto the Nintendo Switch. And I do think if they do that, and they are significant titles, then we may see Sony be forced to see PlayStation titles do the same. They may not. I don't know. The Sony Nintendo thing is a little bit more structured competition. Microsoft has kind of always been in their own thing, competing against everybody else. But I do think we're going to see more of that. I think it's going to be the year of the indie titles. I've been saying that for a long time.
You've said that several times. Yeah, I'm excited.
The indie titles are starting to dominate. A lot of the large studios have made a decade of bad decisions, and it's kind of all come home to roost. And so they've had to go through their layoffs. They've had to make their changes to their strategy. So seeing indie titles kind of crop up and make bigger brands, that's where the competition comes from. This is one of the few free markets where that can still happen. So I'm super excited to see the indie titles that come out this year. On top of that, I know we're going to start seeing AI gaming stuff. I don't know how it's going to be accepted, but it will be interesting to see the AI conversation come into the gaming side of things. What I'm going to be keeping my ear close to the ground for is conversations about Unity. Unity, the Unity engine. Unity's had a rough 2 years, and this has probably been the roughest. They do have a new CEO who's trying to figure out what to do, but they've also cut some departments in the process that were, I think, pretty well needed for a large engine development company like themselves. And they've given a lot of traction, not only over to Epic, who has Unreal and also has the Fortnite game, but they've given a lot of traction to a smaller open sourced engine called Godot. So this being GDC, not necessarily having a singular focus or bias just about the Gamers Development Conference, I think we're going to hear a lot about this new engine, Godot, what it's capable of doing, probably some surprising titles that are switching over to the Godot engine. but it is going to be more independent focused. But this might be the year Godot becomes a breakout software for game development. And that won't surprise me because they've had a pretty meteoric rise since the problems that have occurred over at Unity.
Yeah, well, hopefully Unity will get better. That's my hope. But yeah, do you think we'll hear anything about GTA 6?
Yes.
What do you think we're going to hear?
But I don't know if it's going to be from Rockstar. Let me preface that. I think we'll hear things about Grand Theft Auto. I don't know if it'll be about Grand Theft Auto 6. They tease. Rockstar teases. I would think that they'll say something. This is typically a platform that they utilize to talk about things like this. If we don't hear about Grand Theft Auto 6, I do think we're going to hear about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas VR, which has been a tease subject for probably 3 years now. But enough has occurred where Rockstar Games has acquired the team that was making San Andreas VR. There's some questions about where Meta falls into this conversation. And Meta's even said, yes, this is something we said we were doing, we're planning on doing, but things change. So we'll see. But yeah, I do think we'll hear something about Grand Theft Auto as a brand in gaming within the GDC space.
So yeah, I definitely agree with you. We have to hear some GTA 6 news. We'll see what those news are. Let's see. Anything else from GDC? I mean, we'll have plenty to talk about.
Well, the GTC thing's going to be interesting, right? Because the NVIDIA conversation, they've had a rough year.
You think so? NVIDIA's done?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I mean, not their shareholder.
I mean, I'm saying year from January, right?
Okay.
This year to date, NVIDIA's had a rough 2025. Let me say that a little bit clearer. Their stock has struggled, as most technology stocks have. DeepSeek called into a lot of question of the necessity of their hardware. The 50 series graphics cards kind of had a weird launch where they're available, they're not available, they're overpriced, and people think they want to scalp them but can't scalp them because there's not a market for it. So the things that were piloting the excitement behind NVIDIA for the last 4 series of their graphics cards isn't happening in 2025. So there is a lot of that question. They are making huge strides when it comes to their hardware supporting their own versions of AI. That is definitely where I think we're going to see that conversation. But I don't know how they handle a developers conference where they've got a 5 series graphics card that's kind of odd to get a hold of and very expensive. We'll see. They've just got their own battle that they're fighting here. But I do think it's a part of the conference worth keeping an eye on. I think it won't be very clear, but I think there's going to be plenty to read into when we come back from that.
That's one of the keynotes I usually watch. Like, I'll watch all the Apple ones and, that's like a mandatory one. But then, anything NVIDIA, like I'm now watching it. It's mandatory as well. Like, I feel like you have to sit through and watch the keynotes and see. I'm looking forward to seeing who might be special guests that he might have on stage. I don't know. We'll have to see.
It's a good question. I can't even in my head fathom who it would be at this point. It's just things have been moved around quite a bit. So we'll see.
We'll see. And that'll be an interesting thing. So we'll keep our eyes and ears out for GDC, the Game Developers Conference, and GTC, the NVIDIA Developers Conference as well. So we definitely want to talk about Meta. Meta's Ray-Bans have partnered with Coperni, which is a fashion brand.
I'm not familiar with this brand, but I'm not familiar with fashion. So educate me here.
Yeah. So Coperni and Meta have partnered for the limited edition Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses that just launched today. They're limited edition. So I'm not even sure of the price. I'll look on my phone a little bit, but they just were announced. They look really pretty. Like, I would buy them. I think they're amazing. And I've said this, if we go back to some of the recordings in the past, I've talked about how I believe Meta will continue to double down on fashion. The Ray-Bans are a fashionable item. I think that is one of their paths towards further adoption of glasses and new hardware.
100% agree.
If it looks pretty, if it looks hot, people are going to use it because at the end of the day, even our iPhones are a fashion statement. Like, this is the type of phone I carry, et cetera. And I believe that whatever you end up putting on your face or wearing as a wearable will also be a fashion statement. So those glasses are coming out. And Coperni, just to frame of reference for folks, they're a great fashion brand, luxury fashion brand, designer brand. They had, I think it was probably their fall fashion show. I don't know what year it was, but a couple of years ago, they had, I think for their fall show, they had the models wearing the Humane AI pin. I don't know if you remember that.
Right.
It was one of the first times people had seen the Humane AI pin at TED, but then later they saw it on the runway on some of the models. And I believe it was their fall fashion one because I think people were wearing the coats because the pins were heavy, right? So I don't think they were wearing like summery stuff. I
do remember that. Yeah, it was like heavier coats and things like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Coperni has always been very, in my perspective, fashion tech forward. So yeah, I love this partnership. I absolutely love this partnership.
Well, let's hope this one goes better.
Yeah, hopefully. No, of course it will. I'm sure it'll fill out. But yeah, I hope this partnership, because even with like the Humane AI pin, that was more of like the models wearing it. I don't think there was any type of partnership between them. It was more like, this is more an actual like glasses that are a partnership with Coperni. So
conceptually, one of the things that if I had to look at the Humane AI pin and say, okay, at least they did that. They did try to make it aesthetically pleasing. The product didn't look bad.
So
it wasn't a bad looking pin or anything like that. It could have been much worse. There were plenty of other problems, but from a fashion standpoint, I didn't consider that to be one of them. It kind of made sense and kind of harkened me back to the Star Trek days with the little like badge.
Yeah, that's so funny.
That's what it reminded me of. When I was a kid watching like Star Trek Next Generation, I always wanted one of those. So I was like, that could be cool, but it didn't pan out. And that's how it goes, I guess.
I've always wanted the Edith glasses from the Marvel movies, from Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Tony Stark gives Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Edith glasses that are these augmented reality AI glasses, and they look like Ray-Bans pretty much.
Real technology comes from real science fiction. That's where it comes from.
No, wasn't the cell phone in Star Trek?
Oh, yeah.
Before it actually became a phone. So
we're still waiting for a hoverboard, but I believe one day, maybe.
I still need Rosie from the Jetsons. We're getting there, but I need the robot that's going to do all my chores at the house. So we'll see. We'll get there. Before we start wrapping up, I do want to talk about AI agents, because agentic AI and AI agents are what everyone is obsessed about right now. I feel like South by Southwest has been all about agents. Lots of news happening in that space on how people are using agents, how people are creating agents, all these sorts of things. So definitely talk about AI agents and vibe coding. I think vibe coding is a word that a lot of people are getting introduced to as well. So when it comes to AI agents, some of the news is Manus AI, Manus out of China, which is a multi-agent. It's pretty much an agent that can do a lot of work for you, and people are on waiting lists to try to get access to it. It looks amazing. I've seen some videos of, I think it's Manus running like 30 different social media accounts. Crazy. I mean, I'm starting to get a lot more involved with AI agents in a multi-agent perspective. I truly believe the future is multi-agent and multimodal. I think that is part of where it's going. But what are your thoughts around it?
First, for the listeners, let's break down what you mean by agent. So a lot of these are task-based AIs that can understand a series of requests and execute them in order. So once you break it down, it doesn't sound as science fiction as it actually is. So this could be anywhere from booking travel to a reservation to a haircut to answering
research to
research to anything else
running
in
my
between.
Social media to booking my kids. I'm all like what I need. Running my social media. We need someone to book my kids' summer camps. Yes.
Yeah. So it does break it down into a series of steps that can be executed online. It can run those series of steps as you or under your authority to be able to do things that happen for you. This is conceptually not super new. I mean, it's all new when you really look at it, but this was the attempt that if you go back in time, like a year, maybe 2 years ago, the Rabbit R1 was touting this concept. It just didn't work very well or at all in some cases because it is a completely different approach to AI. When the average person interacts with AI for the first time, they ask it a question, they treat it kind of like Google, and they get an amazing answer, and then they ask it something more complex like an opinion or a summary of a novel or something like that, and they're impressed with the ability that it has to spit things back out that are new. Write a song, write a poem, tell me a joke, those type of things. And then I think the average user's kind of fallen off. Like the average person, not the average user, but the average person kind of like, okay, that was cool. I might use it for X, Y, and Z. They download the app. It is living somewhere in their app, but it is not a thing that they open every day. You start bringing in the agent side of it, where it can start doing repetitive tasks for you. Anywhere, like you said, from doing research on things to compiling hey, I'm looking at the weather. It looks like you're going to get snow in the next 10 days. You do not have snow tires, or you need to order a bag of salt for your driveway. Like those type of things that you forget about, that you also often find yourself scrambling for on a Friday afternoon and everything's closed. Those type of things can be predictive and controlled by an AI agent that is basically under your representation to do those things for you.
Yeah, a very great example for a lot of you out there that travel is, yes, you can use AI to give you a personalized itinerary, recommend things, etc. But what if the AI can be given the authority to book the restaurants, to book the flights, to book the hotels, to email the concierge and ask about this and that, like do all these sorts of things that you normally have to do, right? But do it all for you. Request the upgrade, request that you get extra pillows, make sure that the chef knows that you might have this allergy. Like you can offload a lot of that to an agent that can take care of all of it, not just recommend, right? Because I feel like with large language models, like we like create a itinerary and blah, blah, blah. But now with the agents, you can actually get them to do this stuff, book it for you, put it in action, do it at the same time. So that's one of the ways I explain to people, like a use case for agents that makes sense for a lot of people, right? Because there's many other use cases more on the business side, et cetera, on the enterprise side. But for someone like regular person planning vacation, this is one way.
If the technologies can agree to work together, right? And like this is kind of where now we're talking about the same conversations we were having about the metaverse, but now we're talking about it in the real world, right? So I travel with, if I ever check a bag, my bags have an Apple AirTag in them because I want to know where my bag is. So my Apple AirTag's in my bag. I can see it arrive. I might have to go get that. I see a world one day, maybe I'm just old as dirt at this point, but it could happen where your flight lands. It knows where your Apple AirTag is for your bag. It knows your bag just hit the carousel. You'll have it in so many minutes. It calls your Uber to, you don't have to do all this like weird timing out. It knows where all this location is. It'll take you X amount of minutes to walk from here to there. All right. When you get to this point geographically, it calls your Uber. You get in your Uber. It's already set to a restaurant destination that fits into your food preferences. And all of these things can just be done by a system that knows you and knows your routines, and you can change it at any point of, no, I don't really want to go to that or whatever. You can interrupt it. But for someone who does travel, you travel more than I do, but for someone who has spent a lifetime traveling, there's a lot of this stuff that I just don't want to think about.
Oh my gosh, right? It's such a headache.
I'm just seeing a future where this is coming up. Now, the Manus AI, which is what we're talking about right now, this is out of China. This is brand new. This is pulling a lot of similarities to the conversations that we've had from DeepSeek.
It's giving, a lot of people are comparing it to a DeepSeek moment again, right? Which I don't know if you're going to get to this, but it puts it in contrast to what OpenAI is considering offering for, I think it's $2,000 a month, right?
OpenAI's got...
Does OpenAI have problems here?
Yes, OpenAI has problems. And I'm not saying that simply from they always seem to be behind the ball this year. Again, it's been a rough 2025 for OpenAI, just like it was, like I said, for NVIDIA. That's the truth for like a lot of tech companies right now. One of the issues that I see with OpenAI is they keep talking about these like things that are really impressive, and yet their core offering keeps getting worse. And I don't know why this is, but it will do a leap in the right direction and then slowly like fall down the cliff and revert backwards. I've seen it get really good and then just backslide to unusable again. We saw this happen. DeepSeek came out and touted real-time searching, real-time reasoning, all of this stuff. And then almost immediately, ChatGPT's free version would allow you to do that in demos. And it was really good. I tried to use it today. I couldn't get anything useful out of it. It just backslides. And I don't know where that backsliding is coming from. It is not transparent at all. So they've already got kind of an issue of trying to get their base core offering working for their users to do something of value. You start tacking on a $2,000 price tag on this, it better work and better work perfectly. Yes, enterprise companies will pay for it, but it does have to work.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. It's got to work. It can't just be like, oh, it's not working today. Sorry.
Yeah, and they're not there yet. And I've said this before, I don't think there's an amount of money that gets you there. This is an ingenuity and engineering feat, flat out. When I see what a lot of China's putting out in AI on a lot less hardware for a lot less money, open sourced so you can see the code, and then I'm clouded by a company whose name is OpenAI.
Yeah.
And I use OpenAI. I'm not rooting against you here. It's just a big old question mark of, what is going on? What is happening here? And it's going to be a very strange year.
Well, I think so. I don't know about you. So I'm finding myself using Claude a little bit more. I feel like Claude's latest
I've heard
more
amazing
reliable.
things.
I like Claude a lot. I mean, I go in between both. ChatGPT is the one I use the most. Then Claude.
Claude is leapfrogging in the development space.
Yeah.
So developers are finding much better output from Claude within like the last month. It has been a huge push forward with Claude. And honestly, if you lose the developers, you're going to lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your current power users. Those are your power users who, when they're asked by their CMO or CTO or CEO, what should we be looking at? They're the ones who are going to give the answer.
That's true. That's
so you can't lose your development market.
Yeah. To that point, it's interesting that we're having a conversation about developers, right? Because the concept of developer is evolving in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's the concept of vibe coding. And Kevin Roos from the New York Times wrote a whole article on vibe coding, how he's using it, how he's using all these AI tools to create apps, to create websites, to create all sorts of things without knowing a line of code. And that to me is really interesting because like I'm finding myself, and I said this before, I feel like I've augmented myself. Like I'm using Lovable right now to create websites. I'm literally just talking to it, telling it exactly what I want it to do. And it's doing everything I want it to do. And when it doesn't work, then you just ask it to change. Like I'm finding Lovable extremely easy. I'm going to start playing with Replit. I'm not how to pronounce it, to create apps. And you can create web apps also using Claude. So as someone that has some limited technical capabilities, like I feel it's super augmented with these tools, right, that are allowing me to do this. So vibe coding is kind of like a word that a lot of people are using for people that are not necessarily highly technical to start to create all these sorts of things. They're using all these tools and they get into this vibe and they're, I'm not sure how to explain vibe coding, but yeah.
Yeah, but let's back it up and look at some history here because this isn't new. And I've been hearing this conversation a lot from developer friends and from people who don't consider themselves developers. And I know we're pushing up on the length of the show. So this is kind of like, I'm going to speed run this a little bit and break this down.
Speed run it,
but you do have to look at the history here because if you look at the history of coding, right, and developers, the developers from the 70s and 80s, they were so close to machine code that developers today cannot read what they wrote and tell you what it does.
It was a different language too. Fortran.
It was a different language.
I mean,
and then all of a sudden, you move into the 90s, all of a sudden, we're writing code that is more readable. That felt like a leap forward. Oh, I don't have to be I'm going to use what you just said, a real coder, right? I can start writing in what looks like more of an actual language. As we moved into the 2010s, we got into Ruby on Rails, which was like writing English, right? It very much read. So where you're talking about now, leveraging AI to do development, it's just the next iteration of how developers will work because developer is really always asking the same questions. They're always using loops, making variables that make logical decisions that move something into something else. That's really all it is. We like to treat it like supernatural wizardry power. It's just math and it's just questions getting answered. It's true, false, if, else statements until something hits what you're looking for and then does another thing, right? And it's a very rudimentary way of doing it, but I'm speaking from as a developer, that's really all it is at the end of the day. So as you are talking to a machine that is AI and saying, I need you to build something that does X, Y, and Z, it will inevitably get it wrong the first time if you don't tell it how to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And that is the practice of developers, right? That is the art form. Prior to it being AI, every developer just opened up Google when they hit a stump and didn't know how to do something. It's knowing how to Google, like professionally Google. Professionally Google is the strongest asset to being a good developer and has been for a decade or more. This will be the next strongest asset of being a good developer. Now, if you can prompt correctly and you're a killer developer, you're unstoppable.
You're unstoppable.
You are unstoppable.
I agree with you.
So no, I don't think this destroys the developer market. I think it's going to destroy some companies that think it destroys the developer market. Rest in peace. You're making the largest mistake of your entire career. But if you find great developers who also know how to leverage prompting, it's game over.
I love that. And I think our advice to anyone here is get down and dirty with these tools. I love it. I love trying these tools. It doesn't mean I try every single tool out there, but the ones that I'm really feeling, I'm I like this. I'm using this. I feel augmented. I really do feel augmented.
Yeah. It only makes you stronger if you allow it to make you stronger. It can make you weaker if you use it as a crutch to be lazy then shame on you. But yeah, computers have done that too, right? I know people who are power users on their phone and have moved mountains. I also know people who sit on their couch and stare at Instagram all day.
Yeah.
It elevates who you are. And you only have yourself to blame at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I've been very bullish on this and trying to hit this home with people of like, if you are unhappy with what technology is doing with your life, you are still in control of it. Get better.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I agree. So I think we're getting towards the end of the show. Anything else you want to talk about? Or should we just go straight into what you recommend listening to? And I can tell you what I'm
actually super excited about what I've been listening to this week. I just listened to the whole album this morning, both sides, while I was eating breakfast. I always like to share an album that I'm listening to, something strange, something often forgotten or maybe never even known. This is more on the forgotten side of it. But The Idiot by Iggy Pop came out in 1977. It's a really strange departure. Iggy is normally known for like proto-punk rock, but this is a experimental, atmospheric vibe, alt rock, strange album. And I give it credit to being so different because it was actually produced by David Bowie. It's not David Bowie, but it was produced by David Bowie. So it's an Iggy Pop record produced by David Bowie. If you haven't heard The Idiot, go listen to it. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely strange. It's one of those albums that works really well in the morning or at night. It's not something you listen to in the middle of the day. It's
not
a very
2 p.m. and you're ready for it now.
Yeah. No, it's something you listen to in the morning while you're thinking on your own stuff, or at night when you're just kind of like wanting to hear an interesting vibe. It's definitely a journey album. So go give it a listen. It'll probably brighten your day a little bit. I've enjoyed it. It's what I'm listening to right now. What are you reading?
First of all, Iggy Pop. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about Iggy Pop in forever. So thank you for that.
I bring out the stuff the algorithm won't remind you of.
Which I love. So I want to tell you guys about a book a friend of mine wrote that is available for pre-order. I'm getting a preview of the book, so I'm really excited. So our friend Francesca Hogi, who was one of our guests, she was a guest here to talk about love and dating in the age of AI and technology. She has a book out called How to Find True Love. And she's an amazing love coach. She has an amazing TED Talk. You guys know I'm always on this like personal journey of self-discovery. And her book is amazing. So definitely check it out. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Anything else, or do you want to read us out?
I'm going to read you out. Thank you for tuning into Tech Magic, where we always invite you to come for the tech and stay for the magic. I'm Lee Kebler here with the incredible Cathy Hackl. Special thanks, as always, to Adweek for bringing this show to you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, as always, leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. You can connect to us by just searching for Tech Magic, Cathy Hackl, or me, Lee Kebler, and you will find us, and we'd love to hear from you. So do that, and we'll be back next week.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.